2025 Mercedes G580 first look. Is the electric G-Class the best? The G63 will go faster, and the G550 will go farther, but the electric G580 promises to be better than both off-road. It's been teased more times than the 1965 Mustang. We were taken for some serious off-roading in a prototype 18 months ago, experiencing firsthand the fabled 360-degree tank turn pirouette that formed part of its CES dance routine on the Strip in Las Vegas earlier this year. Last month, we rode along as it drifted across the Arctic ice. But Mercedes is perhaps right to be both proud of and, perhaps, a little nervous about the G580 with EQ technology, the first all-electric production G-Class SUV. It combines one of the company's most iconic and profitable vehicles with a cutting-edge powertrain technology that has yet to win overwhelming acceptance from most consumers. This could be one of the best G-Wagons built in the 45-year history of the legendary Mercedes off-roader. Or one of the worst. We'll be able to give you the definitive verdict on that when we drive the electric G580 with EQ technology in the next few weeks. In the meantime, Mercedes has released full technical and feature details, so let's take a closer look at what will be one of the most intriguing new vehicles it launches this year. Oh, and we're not going to bother with that clunky name. From here on, it's just the G580, okay? AG-EV is still AG. The G must be AG, says Manuel Erstoger, the engineer with overall responsibility for the development of the G580S powertrain. That was most important to us when developing the electric G. That meant the electric G had to be able to climb steep slopes, tiptoe over big boulders, plow through mud, storm sand dunes, and wade through deep water. In short, go everywhere a regular G can go, with no compromise. That meant all-wheel drive, of course, but Erstoger's team determined that for the ultimate in control and capability, the G580 needed a motor to drive each wheel through its own two-speed transmission. The G580 also had to look like AG, which meant all elements of its electric powertrain had to be packaged within the existing hardware envelope of the W463 G-Class. The fact the G-Class is built on a ladder frame proved a key enabler. Power is delivered by four 145 HP electric motors mounted to the ladder frame. Together they deliver a total system output of 579 HP and 859 lb-ft of torque. Powering the motors is a two-tier, 216-cell lithium-ion battery with a usable capacity of 116 kWh. That combination is enough, Mercedes says, to punch the 6,600-pound G580 from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 4.6 seconds and onto an electronically limited top speed of 112 miles per hour, with what should be an EPA-rated range of about 240 miles per charge. The battery will accept charge rates of up to 200 kilowatts on a DC fast charger, meaning it can be taken from a 10% state of charge to 80% in 32 minutes. To ensure it can survive the punishment of extreme off-roading, even though G-Class engineers ruefully admit 99% of G-Class customers never take their vehicles off-road, the battery is enclosed in a torsion-resistant casing that is also waterproof, allowing the G580 to wade through 33.5 inches of water, 5.9 inches deeper than internal combustion-powered G-Wagons can manage without a snorkel. The battery casing is further protected by an inch-thick carbon composite skid plate attached to the frame by 50 steel screws. The skid plate alone weighs 127 pounds, but as Erstoger points out, a steel skid plate offering similar levels of protection would have weighed 3 times as much. Suspension required some rethinking. Like the ICE G-Wagons, the G580 has a multi-link independent front axle and a non-independent axle at the rear. Having a motor power each wheel is straightforward with an all-independent suspension setup. See Rivian's R1S SUV, but combining a pair of motors with a live rear axle required some lateral thinking. The solution is an engineering concept almost as old as the automobile, the de Dion axle, which dates to about 1894. The de Dion design features a rigid tube connecting the wheel hubs, so it behaves like a solid axle. But the drive to each wheel is via separate half shafts with universal joints on either end that allow the rear motors to bolt securely to the chassis yet still drive the wheels, while the axle delivers the articulation needed for ultimate off-road performance. The G580's ground clearance is 9.9 inches, with the 113.8-inch wheelbase giving it a breakover angle of 20.3 degrees, approach angle is 32 degrees, and departure angle is 30.7 degrees. By way of comparison, the G550 has an approach angle of 30.9 degrees, a departure angle of 29.9 degrees, and a breakover angle of 23.5 degrees. The 4-motor EV drivetrain allows the torque going to each wheel to be independently and automatically controlled under all conditions, a system G580 engineers describe as virtual diff locks. The G580 offers 3 on-road drive modes, Comfort, Sport, and Individual, and 2 off-road drive modes, Trail and Rock. It also has a proper low range, courtesy of a reduction gear system on the output shaft of each motor. The roughly 2-to-1 reduction gearing is selected with the push of a button, while the G580 is stationary and the drive selector is in neutral. Top speed in low range is 53 miles per hour. Other 4-motor electric-powered off-roaders such as the Rivian R1S don't have a mechanical low range, relying on the motor's ability to produce peak torque at 0 RPM. But, Erstoger notes, motors do not like to be kept at low RPM, as they generate a lot of heat. They want to push through that state, he says. The low-range gear enables the G580S motors, which are enclosed in water jackets and internally oil-cooled, to spin faster at low vehicle speeds, keeping them even cooler and prolonging their life. G spinning and turning. Given the traction, the G580 will easily climb a 45-degree incline in low range. And with the weight of the battery low in the vehicle, it can traverse 35-degree side slopes. The powertrain can spin the wheels on either side of the vehicle in the opposite direction and pivot the G580 around its central axis, the celebrated tank turn. Called the G-turn by Mercedes, it can be activated in low range with rock mode selected, by pressing the left-hand button in a cluster at the center of the dash where the 3 diff lock buttons reside in the G550 and G63. The G-turn will spin the G580 through 360 degrees to the left or the right, a maximum of 2 rotations, depending on which of the paddles on the steering wheel, which are used for manually shifting the 9-speed automatic in ICE G-wagons, is pulled. There was a lot of discussion as to whether it was a gimmick, Erstoger acknowledges, but we decided it added to the capability. It's the same with G-steering, which decelerates the inside rear wheel while accelerating the outside rear wheel to reduce the turning radius on tight trails. Like G-turn, G-steering is only available in low range, with rock mode selected. Activated by pressing the right-hand button in the dash, G-steering will stay operational up to 15 miles per hour. Low range also allows drivers to activate an intelligent crawl function, a sort of ultra-low-speed cruise control. Slow crawl restricts speed just over 1 mile per hour on level ground or downhill. Variable crawl ups it to between 3 miles per hour and 4 miles per hour and allows the driver to increase the speed up to 9 miles per hour on 10 to 20-degree downhill slopes. Fast crawl gives a maximum of 5 miles per hour on level ground or while traveling uphill. The system maximizes recuperation by using the motors exclusively to slow the G580 on downhill sections. Switching between the crawl speed settings is done by clicking the steering wheel paddles. These features, which result from the ability to precisely control the torque at each wheel, mean the G580 is better off-road than the ICE model, Erstoger says. That's quite some call. But while it's 0.6 seconds slower to 60 miles per hour than a G63 and can't match the 370-mile range of a G550, our rides in G580 prototypes suggest it's far from hubris to say it's going to be better than either in the rough stuff. Of course, we'll wait until we get behind the wheel before making a definitive judgment. Looks and equipment. From a distance the G580 looks almost like any other of the current G-Wagon models, the biggest difference being at the front end, where the optional black panel grille is framed by an LED light band. Get up close and personal, and you'll notice myriad detail changes. The hood has been reprofiled to clear the inverter and other F-powertrain hardware. Vents in the rear fender flares help create air curtains around the rear wheels. Speaking of wheels, the standard wheel is an 18-inch aero-tuned alloy shod with 265/60 tires. 20-inch wheels with 275/50 tires are available as part of the optional AMG line package. Other aero tricks include smoother cladding around the A-pillars and a small spoiler between the seam at the top of the windshield and the leading edge of the roof, features both developed for the electric-powered G but adopted on the recently facelifted ICE models. The size and shape of a small barn, the G580 is never going to slip through the air, but the various aero tweaks have resulted in a claimed drag coefficient of 0.44, a 17% improvement over the pre-facelift G550. Standard equipment includes the new off-road cockpit and transparent hood function, plus leather-trimmed seats, open-pore walnut on the dash and doors, and the latest generation of MBUX with a single 2-display screen stretching across 50% of the dash. Options include a rear entertainment system with two 11.6-inch touchscreen displays. The G580 will initially only be available in the US in an Edition 1 specification, which combines a choice of 5 exterior colors: South Sea Blue Magno, Matte, Obsidian Black Metallic, Classic Gray Solid, and Opalite White and Solid and Magno finishes with seats trimmed in black and gray Napa leather with contrast blue stitching, blue carbon fiber trim, and elements from the AMG line and night packages, including black painted 20-inch alloy wheels. Other standard goodies in the Edition 1 package include keyless entry, active seating, a sunroof, and a Burmester 3D surround sound system. The Mercedes G580 is expected to arrive in the US in the second half of this year. Pricing has yet to be confirmed, but European pricing suggests the loaded Edition 1 will sticker for about $185,000.